Hello, welcome to Warblog. Today I'm going to play on the Borova Front. I'm not doing this run. I haven't even really started it yet. But obviously, more happening in the world of war. I sort of just jumped at this really because I have to do something. Would have liked to sort of done the Advika front, but to be quite honest, I sort of jumped at this first. I thought, oh, this is what this looks like, but it's not as interesting. The Advika one was sort of probably the one maybe I should have done. Would, if I can get round to it, be the one I'm going to do next, because obviously that's a little more sort of interesting. Because obviously on the south front side there's sort of articles on the Avika thing. Russian army hammers Kiev forces across the fronts. Battle for Advika. Russian advance threatens, and it's sort of really quite strategically interesting. Whereas this looks more like it's sort of a general advance. It says towards something else, which I can't quite recall. To Kupiansk, but I couldn't really find that. But it would appear to be sort of here in this direction, so I've called it the Borova Front. So they're coming through here. What I've sort of done is, well, I tried not to put all the trenches in a big long line, but that's a big long line. But I think there's sort of breaks, and the reason being is because it's actually better to sort of at least get the enemy to sort of, if they're there, you can fire at them a little better. So they're not really weak points, because if they move into there, they're difficult to get out because they're entrenched. But if they move into here, it's just open terrain, and you can almost just push them out. So that's why I've sort of done it loosely like this. So it's almost better to have, maybe even one, none, one, none, one, none, defense, plane, like here. So getting through that gap is going to be, is not as simple as it sounds, because they'll be able to fire their anti-tank in there, and they'll be able to attack with their irregulars into there. So, and because of the way the regular sort of forces work, they've got a good option going in that direction. I've given them some tanks and things. I'm not sure, to be quite honest, I can't really recall what the reinforcement schedule is, so it might not be very well balanced. But I'm just going to jump into playing it. Lots of drones. Maybe I've given them too much, but again, I haven't really thought about it. I'm not going to do too much thinking. But I already think there's too many and too much artillery. What to do about that? I'm gonna pause it actually, and I'm gonna take 2 drones off, and I'm gonna take 3 drones off, 3 Lancets, and 2 artillery, and I'll do something with the Ukrainians as well on that. Okay, so I've sort of modified it a bit. Let's see what this looks like. Well, that's a bit better, I think. I don't feel as though I'm just going to totally blow everything up. Well, let's just get the drawing tool out. And obviously we've got the front down here. Not particularly exciting line. But I think we've got some engineers here. I sort of think, well, what I'm trying to do is sort of replicate the breakthrough in some way. But obviously, going through this minefield might not be a good idea, so it might be sort of interesting to try and break through here. And to focus on that, because here's a different colour. See what yellow looks like. Here, we've got a big river. So what all these Ukrainian troops are doing in there, I don't know, because we can't cross it unless we get some engineers there. So that's sort of out of bounds. Here, it's a big river we'd have to cross. So we sort of get stuck there, regardless. Here, it would be sort of quite plausible, but the river does actually go up to there. Let's just see where this... So the river actually goes there, look. Difficult to see, but... So that means that this is the best point of attack, but we can probably get over this river. We're fighting over the river, and here might be a good one as well. But I'm going to sort of try that. Now I've got some special force units. There's some there. I think there's 3. I think I put one there, and I think I put one up here. Yeah. Oh no. But we've got engineers there. I was thinking of putting 2 in there, 2 in there. But I think maybe in the first instance, we might want to do is to blow something up. To be quite honest, this anti-tank could be quite formidable against all these units. But we might be able to breach here straight off. Let's just see what we can do here. Let's try some artillery on it first. .8.9. One more. Okay, let's bomb it. Aha, we got him. And he's at 5. Let's do one more Lancet attack there. Right, so it's not ideal. He's at depression 5, but he's across the river. Whew, decisions. So what's this going to be? It's going to be like 10. But he'll be half. And I have no idea what the entrenchments are going to do. Plus the river. Let's just give it a go. I wish I had one of those things where I could save it, and if it fails I could resort back, because I like cheating in games. I just don't like playing an entire game because one battle goes wrong, the whole game's ruined. That's things like Civ. 5-1 and a DR. So, I do like the game to be slightly intuitive, and that does make sense, and so that was sort of okay. But to be quite honest, I wasn't expecting that. If it was 1-5, I'd have been quite equally as acceptant of it. So we've got a Russian breakthrough. So I'm quite happy with that. I almost want to leave it at that, really, because that's sort of what we're seeing. I think maybe the Russians are going to take a heavy pounding from all this anti-tank stuff, which I think is not really the intention. It was just to sort of make it very difficult. I was hoping that maybe we'd be able to wipe things out quick enough for them to sort of be less sort of relevant. But we'll see. We could try, and we can't get across the river there. But we could try blowing that up and try moving these special forces in. But I mean, I should know this, but I don't think... No, it's not going to work. So we're all geared up for next turn. Right, so we've got 4, so we should be able to get into there. So I think I'm going to try this. But it would be nice to maybe do some damage against these units. Oh, that's nice. That's nice, because now when I do the drone attacks, that will be a nice modifier. Routed the anti-tank. So that was almost perfect, because I can sort of handle him. It's this anti-tank stuff that I really want to sort of get rid of. I've still got the option to push them out. Thing is, these are engineers, so they would not have the same sort of modifiers. I was thinking of attacking, but they don't. They'll be at 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's less than even just one of these. This was like a 10 on there. This would be a 4. I don't really want to advance anything else, but I think I should. Decisions. Do I attack that or that? I think I'm going to attack that. They don't do so well against non-armoured things, although 2.25 is quite good. I'm feeling lucky again, I'm not thinking, but it seems as though it should make sense. And it did. But we can't get in there. Not enough movement. Oh. 2 engineering units. Okay. So the Russians have sort of broken through there. I think we might be able to do some damage with all this anti-tank stuff, but at the same time, we might want to think about trying to reinforce this line because it's going to break. So I think we want to focus all our drones and artillery on this breakthrough point, possibly recapturing these trenches. I have just thrown this game together, so I'll probably make some adjustments. Possibly, I think what I haven't done is given either side any irregular reinforcements. They get the armoured stuff on, but I think they should be both doing that. But it seems to be a bit of a, not so much a backwater, it seems from what I looked at it on the map, it's really quite just open wilderness. And I get the feeling that although there is sort of activity going there, it's quite low density because there's nothing to defend. There's no towns or settlements. It's not as though they're sort of coming up on Rabanto or one of these other sort of, towns or whatnot. So it's just fighting from one nondescript clump of terrain to another. And I think that both sides have less density in that sort of thing. But I still think that once these break, we'll need reinforcements, and we could pull them back from here. But it's interesting, really, because if they do, these will be able to come across the river. Although there's no crossing there. We can cross up here, so it might be worth bringing, or at least trying to shuffle a lot of these things along. But there's no sort of reinforcements, that's sort of the thing I'm getting to, really. And there's no real way to get through this minefield. We can go that way, or around here. Okay, let's just try bombing what's in here. Or shelling. Okay, we might be able to do something with our drones. They're not particularly good ones, they're just dropping bombs, I think. So we routed one of them. I mean, there's no point in saving that drone for anything else. So we should be able to push him out though, but we can use some anti-tank. Okay, we eliminated it with a 1. So we can retake the trench line, look. But we can't really do much against these engineering units. Two. 0.7. Okay, so let's see what we can bring to bear on these. See, although we've got anti-tank all over the place, it's not that great, and it's really designed for tanks. So we can use quite a lot of it against one little target, and there's lots of zeros there. You know, 0.1 is hardly worth it. You know, so all of that brought about 2.1, which is not insignificant. But considering that's like as much of that line, I mean, we can bring, you know, quite a bit on this, and similarly, you know, it's a nice freebie. .7 so far, I think. You know, zeros. It's 0.9. Yep, 0.9. So all of that has really achieved very little. Probably targeting the wrong thing. And we've got some engineering units there. Right, so for all of that, it really wasn't that impressive, but we do have some mechanized forces. Let's push this guy out here so we can run this through. Do we want to move him forward? Okay. So the Ukrainians didn't really do much damage to the Russians. So I think it's fairly well balanced. I just think that the Ukrainians need a few more reinforcements. But I'm not going to play much longer because I'm tired. I just really want to get another video out there. So it's interesting how the counters present a sort of almost a false image, because we know that this is a very weak line. We know we should be able to just take it straight back out and have reinforced, but it would look as though it's quite a bit and quite a lot of units there. But in the first instance, let me just here. I want to build a bridge. I'm not sure which way to do it, but I think I'm going to build it there. Yep, there we go. And here, do the same thing. I'll do it into a different hex. So again, we've got two bridges now. I could have done it sort of this way and this one, so I could have two hexes into the same one. But I think I should be okay like that. Oh right, all these armoured units have suddenly appeared, which is interesting. I get the feeling that I might have messed up, because there's a lot of armour. I'll have to review that. Good job I'm not playing much longer, because otherwise it's really stupid. It's like an entire brigade or division of armour. But here, so they haven't managed to do any damage there. And this gets a bit tedious because we're going to have to sort of clear the mines like 4 times. Not the end of the world, but so there's now no mines in there, and I still haven't gotten around to doing that, making it legible. No more mines, not. I'm so tired. I could very well build a bridge there and not notice. Hang on, build a bridge. It's interesting actually, because that's sort of what I could do. It's always struck me as one of those strange things. I mean, this is what happens in games, but I could build a bridge right into the enemy trenches, which would have thought, well, maybe I could apply something that says you can't do it into an occupied. In fact, I might actually already have that in there. I just can't remember anything anymore. So now we've gotten rid of all the mines from there, which is probably not that useful. So let's see about targeting hexes. So this one's quite weak. We know there's a 6 in there, so let's just target that first. And let's put some drones in there. So we've got rid of that first unit. Going for the morale. Let's see if I can push him out with these special forces. Yes. So we can just move him into there and try bombing these people. He's at 8. Wish I'd known that before, because we'll probably get a rout. I love the way these things get aborted. Okay, so we've now cleared that. Okay. Pretty sure this was not in my intention to have armoured units that close. The armoured units should be coming on from now, so I'm going to have to change that. I'm not going to play anymore because I've played for half an hour, and I think I sort of proved my point from the point of view that I think it's quite balanced. Obviously those tanks at the end were stupid. I'm not sure what they should have been. I think my intention was that they should have been Russian anti-tank, and I think I possibly just saw tank and moved those in there. But they should have actually been in there from the start, not appearing on turn 2. But both sides get, so you can see here's some Ukrainian tanks coming on. I thought that they had, I'm not sure why they've got that many there, because I think the mechanized come on from here. It was sort of balanced, but so the Ukrainians do get stuff coming in, but I think what we need is more irregulars to come in and sort of possibly bolster these things up, because this is cracked here. They're moving some things up there. We might even be able to move our engineers down here and attack down here. I think it's an interesting sort of look at that area. Key points being sort of, lots of sort of muddled trench lines here and there that the Ukrainians can sort of fall back onto. But I think it'd be interesting gameplay. But I think that this video obviously shows it erroneously. The tanks are an error, and the Ukrainian infantry, the Ukrainian irregular unit reinforcements will be sort of a tweak, which I'll do both of those things now. But I think I'll also give the Russians some extra reinforcements as well. But that's that really. I mean, sort of interesting times, certainly. I think these sort of Russian advances, I think, are needed just to sort of demonstrate that they have possibly, on aggregate, gained more ground than the Ukrainians have gained across their sort of spring-summer offensive. I was reading somewhere just the other day about saying this article, saying that the Ukrainian spring offensive has failed, and but it was written back in August, I think, and it was when they were sort of, it wasn't really that, people were saying, oh, it's not early enough, but I think it definitely has, but the thing is, I mean, I was going to sort of talk about it extensively, but I don't want to really because I'm tired. But I was thinking basically it didn't have to. I think they could have achieved, because we're in the wrong part of the map to talk about it. But down near Robenito, whatever it is. I think that they could have made advances, and I can't remember these places. I have to find the map, and I can't. Let's use this South Front map. Down here, Rabotino. I think if they were looking to get to Melitopol, I think that the Ukrainians could have done it. When you look at that, that is all they've done. That is a failure. And the thing is, I think that the concept of a counter-offensive is not an extensive line of attrition. I've said that before. And that gets a bit boring as well. And this is where I'm sort of looking over here. Down here, I think. So I was going to do this one, and well, I'm going to try and do all of them. I saw Yampil there, which I recall from one of the, the before the war type situations, which is interesting, from another war, I think. But down here, I think they could have got to Melitopol. If they'd concentrate everything they had. I mean, when I say everything, I mean not absolutely everything, because they have obviously got to keep the defensive lines elsewhere. But what they did, they applied everything bit by bit, and it's just a matter of odds. If you just hit them with one unit every time, they've got their full defensive power against that one unit. But if they were to send everything, wave after wave, they would have broken through the line. Even if it meant that they had to drive over every mine. The Russians at one point would have run out of artillery, and things happen. This is what I was also thinking. Things happen in the course of war that are unexpected. So you would have been hoping as well for some kind of unexpected, I wouldn't say unexpected devastation, because that's the thing that springs to mind, but unexpected outcome in some regards. For example, Russian command paralysis, or just sort of, because the thing is, if what I thought of was they could have. I'm not a military genius. In fact, I'd say I'm a military idiot, really. But I look at it enough to sort of get a sense for certain things. But I would have done air inserts. They do have certain things, and the Hamas have demonstrated, what I would almost consider something that the Ukrainians could have done. Those little sort of, whatever, those little paragliders. They could have used those to get over the mines and to air assault around Melitopol. But what I was thinking is, if you had units, and you could use gliders and commercial aircraft and whatever air power they had, they've just used everything. They could have done something. They could have got down to Melitopol, but also land in whatever's under there, Tokmak. But they could have somehow, essentially, whether it was through Rabatin and Tokmak, Melitopol, or Vlasnividlka, one way or another, that they could have landed here. And what would have happened is, if these units suddenly realised there were troops behind them, Ukrainians behind them, the chaos would have caused, an unexpected outcome somewhere along the lines where all the people in the Melitopol might have routed. I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about Mosul, when the Al Qaeda people attacked it, and the defenders just ran away, and they weren't expecting that, and they captured Mosul. And I think that, it could have happened. And and then this would have had everything. So you had all the tanks coming down. I'm not sure how it would work logistically, but I just think that, that would have been especially when it was a $500 billion, investment, something like that. I mean, it's like they got the money to do D-Day, but instead they just sent one ship at a time to nibble away at the French coast, and it wouldn't work. They sent absolutely everyone in a concerted battle, and that was what I think was required. I even remember commenting, I think it was on the South Front site somewhere, and they're saying they should just do one big battle. All these little things are just not right. And someone sort of corrected me and said, no, what they're doing is good. This is the way to do it. And I thought, well, everyone is better than me, so I didn't really argue it. Anyway, it's no point arguing things like that. But I sort of thought, well, maybe it is. I don't know. But I still, even to this day, I still don't think that what they did was right. I think they lost every potential they had by doing it little bit by little bit here and there, when they could have just made for a massive assault, and it would have been more of a Waterloo moment, a win or lose. It would have been the battle for Melitopol. And I keep thinking of things like Market Garden, and a bridge too far. It would have been an epic effort. And what they've done is piss it up against the wall. They sent their troops up against a wall in what a lot of people are calling a meat grinder scenario. And I think that's true, and they're saying, oh, yeah, but they care about their troops. They're not sending them over to get killed. Well, I don't know how many have got killed, but I think, the numbers are in like tens of thousands for the spring offensive. Well, if you had the ability to lose tens of thousands of troops, you could have done it in a grand effort. I sort of, my mind keeps going back to the Iran-Iraq war with the Iranian, Pasdaran human waves against the trenches, and they quite often broke through for they made 2-mile breakthroughs, and they couldn't hold them because of, I can't remember exactly why, but I think it was, they just didn't have the heavy weapons to hold those positions. But they would break through like distances of 2 miles, and I mean, that's sort of no small distance, and that was that's what the Ukrainians were trying to do. And to say that these roads were all mined all the way along, or maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but I would have thought that, with the power that they have, not necessarily of the Ukrainians, but with the Western satellite systems, they would be able to have figured out which roads were being used and be able to, actually figure out, what was safe, what routes were safe. And I think that, with all the other sort of, battlefield intelligence that they would be privy to, they would have been able to come up with a plan. I mean, I don't like to say this really, but Hamas came up with a plan, and they broke through, and they were all over the place. We don't know quite what happened, but given that that was everything they had, they put up far more of a formidable, I don't know how to say it really, effort than the Ukrainians did. But that's just as an aside, really. I was just thinking, I was reading this article, it was saying that, the Ukrainian offensive has failed, and that was written in August. And I think, we've got to say that it has. I mean, if you're sort of thinking, well, what are you trying to do? Nibble away here? I actually wrote somewhere else, if that's what they do in 1 year, if you were to cut that out and do the area of that, that's another 1 year, another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In 10 years, you get that. That is not an offence. It's not a counter-offensive. And they were sort of saying, you've got to leave it up to the Ukrainians to sort of figure out and to fight it their way. And maybe, if that many people were charging down here, the Russians would obliterate them. But I don't think they would, because, again, it's that sort of you know, they've got their artillery. It's distributed evenly along the battle line. They would have been able to choose where they were coming from, so it would have been a surprise. You know, they would have run out of ammunition at some point and had to have got it from somewhere else. But by the time it arrived, you know, a lot of things would have been determined. And also, you know, that's what happened in the First World War. You know, barrages came down, then troops still got through because the troops sort of tend to sort of like be quite resilient under artillery fire, because they get to hide in the little holes, and as long as they're laying flat on the ground, they quite often sort of, you know, unless the bomb lands directly on them, you know, they tend to sort of, you know, be able to get up again. It's the sort of, you know, the soft-skinned vehicles and things that truly sort of get, you know, suffer. But you know, I just think that they could have done a passive ram type assault, and obviously they would have had smoke, and they would have had the ability to sort of, you know, to swamp the enemy and to, you know, to take over the trenches and, you know, air inserts and things like that. But now we're looking at, I think, you know, it's getting towards winter, and I can't really recall, but I think the weather is getting wet again, which means that, you know, heavier equipment is now going to be more bogged down. I still don't understand that, because I always see pictures of, you know, British tanks driving through Salisbury Plains through the mud. I'm not sure what it is about the mud that really, you know, stops them. But you know, I mean, I admit I've seen plenty of pictures, but of tanks stopped. But whenever you see the adverts for them, they're driving through big puddles, you know, driving through rivers, and it seems that it's a bit odd for these really enormous, you know, tracked vehicles to be, you know, it's a bit like trains being, you know, delayed because of the wrong type of leaves. You would have thought that these all-terrain vehicles, all-weather vehicles, would be able to handle a bit of mud. But anyway, that's that. I'll leave it at that, because I didn't really want to speak for another 17 minutes about a lot of rubbish. But that's the situation. I'll go and do those changes now. I might try and do whatever that Ardavik, that other one that was more interesting. No, whatever it is, I might try and do that later or sooner. Okay, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.